Welcome to Q&A practice. Let's start out with a little warm-up, and we will start with the defense attorney. Ready? Here we go. Did you have to travel frequently in your job? Well, I would like you to define what you mean, and then I will answer the question. How often do you leave home in a period of a month? I would say I would be gone once a week. You would leave home once a week? Yes. Do you mean 1 day a week? Would you go for any period of time extending beyond 1 day? I have not taken all my trips and averaged them out. If I had to do that, they would average out to 1 trip a week, which would encompass leaving in the morning of 1 day, staying overnight, and returning home the next afternoon. Have you ever made trips that extended for a period of 4 to 5 days? Yes, I have. How frequently has this happened where you would be gone for a period of 4 or 5 days? In my present employment, it has happened twice. In my previous employment, I really can't remember, but I would say it probably happened at least 6 times. Is that aside from your 1 day a week or 2 days a week? No, these would be similar type trips, but it required my staying for longer periods. How long a period did you stay in those instances? You mean in my previous employment or in your present employment? I have already told you. How long were those stays? An average stay would be leaving the morning of 1 day and staying overnight. You mentioned there were 2 of them that you stayed for a longer period of time. Oh yes, on 1 trip in the earlier part of June, I left on Wednesday and returned Tuesday afternoon. This was a planned trip where my wife joined me in Seattle. The other occasion was the week of August 16, and I was gone Tuesday through Friday. Those are the 2 times. Right, now let's try some 4-voice practice with our transcript here, and we will start with the plaintiff attorney. Ready? Here we go. And if you go back to your diagram on page 4, did you put on your diagram that there were any skid marks left by the motorcycle? No, that doesn't occur on a sketch, so the answer would be there's no skid marks left by the motorcycle, at least on the diagram number 4, page 4. They're not required. I'm not trying to talk about what's required or not. What I want to make certain is when I look at the factual diagram here on page 4, you didn't record that there was any skid marks left by the motorcycle. Correct? Correct. You didn't leave any skid marks left by the van either. Correct? Correct. And did you record was there any gouge marks left by the motorcycle on the factual diagram, page 4? On the sketch, there are no gouge marks. Are there any marks in the road whatsoever on the factual diagram on page 4 that you attributed to the happening of this accident? No. Okay, on pages 6 through 8, did Officer Mason report there was any skid marks or tire marks in any way left from either vehicle on those pages? He reported that there was a tire friction mark. In which page are you looking at? Page 7, and that's at the line 3. Correct. And then let me ask this, did you see any tire friction marks at the scene of the accident? Yes. On the times that you'd been by the scene of this accident before the accident, you'd noticed that there was tire friction marks out there before this accident. True? I'm unsure of it. You don't know one way or the other. Right. There could have been marks that were left, skid marks and friction marks, before the happening of this accident, and there may not have been. You just don't know. Right. What we have is counsel was kind enough to bring a comprehensive set of photos. We're going to mark these as our next in order, which I believe is 14. These are the photos that you understand, these are all the pictures that CHP took. Yes. Of the scene. Yeah, of the scene. I'm not trying to be tricky here. Number 15 here is going to be the photo of the motorcycle inspection, correct? Yes, mark that as 15 now so we don't forget. And just so you know, council was kind enough also to put the CHP numbering on each one by hand, so that's commendable. So let me ask this, take a look at the photo that we have. I'm looking at photo 1007189 through 1007226, from 7189 to 7226. Tell me if you see any tire friction marks on the road in any of those photos, whether or not they were caused by this accident. There appears to be one that's visible on 1007189. Is that how we're labeling them? Well, right now, 158, no. Just ignore that number, okay? It's the 7189, yeah. Do you see that, the tire friction mark, or a tire friction mark on the eastbound side of the road? I see some of the westbound side. Do you see any tire friction marks whatsoever on the eastbound side of the road? I can't be sure if those are tire friction marks or actually shadows from the power lines. Okay, do you see any tire friction marks on that photo on the west side of the road? Yes. And let me take a look at what you're saying. Point, if you will, to the friction mark you're talking about right there. What we'll do is I'm going to have you on that. Circle that without looking, without touching the mark itself. Why don't we use a red pen? I'm sorry, why don't we use a red pen? You got a red pen? I kind of like my gold one. I came prepared. Circle the entire, circle it without touching the mark itself. Okay, let the record reflect the witness has done that. Do you know the last time you'd been by the scene of this accident prior to the happening of this accident? If it was there? No, I'm just asking the last time it was that you were by the scene before the accident happened. I can't recall the exact last time. Okay, do you know if the mark that you circled here on Exhibit 14 at photo 7189, do you know if that was actually caused by this accident or not? Do you have personal knowledge? No. And do you see there appears to be other friction marks of the road on the westbound side in this photo? Yes. And do you know what caused those friction marks? No. Now, would you agree that those friction marks were there before the happening of this accident? They appear to be. Okay, with regard to the friction mark that you circled, did you ever go to the motorcycle and in any way compare the tires that are on the motorcycle and the width of the tires or the characteristics of the tires on the motorcycle that was involved in this accident with that particular friction mark you circled? No. On Exhibit 14, photo 7189, no. Are you aware of anybody having done that? No. Okay, did you ever speak to Officer Mason about that friction mark? No. Did you ever ask Officer Mason the question, Officer Mason, was that mark from this accident, or could it have been there before this accident? Did you ever ask him that question? No. As you sit here today, either could be true, correct? True. All right, other than where we have the notation by Officer Mason on page 7 on line 3 where it says it was a 4.6 long tire friction mark. Other than that, are you aware of Officer Mason on pages 6 through 8 talking about any other tire marks? No. Are you aware of Officer Mason recording any kind of gouge marks in the pavement that he attributed to the happening of this accident? No. Are you aware of any gouge marks or road markings in the road in any form or fashion that were attributed to the happening of this accident by anybody in this investigation? No. With regard to the point of the area of impact, strike that. With regard to the area of impact, did you determine the area of impact for this collision? I consulted Officer Mason about it, and when you say you consulted him about it, this accident, strike that. This accident was your accident to investigate, correct? Correct. And you were the one who wrote up the information about the area of impact, correct? Yes. And did you write that up? What page was that on? I think it's on page 23. Yeah, that's correct. And in trying, what you did was to try and determine the area of impact, correct? Correct. Now you folks in the CHP used to use the term point of impact, okay? It may have been before your time. I'm starting to date myself. Have you ever heard that term, point of impact? I've heard it used before, but we don't use it anymore. Your training was to use the term area of impact, correct? That's because it's really hard when you're doing an investigation of an accident like this to determine, quote, the point of an impact, correct? I'm not sure what the difference is between point of impact and area of impact and why they changed. All right. That will conclude our Q&A practice.